There's a list, a secret one. And if your Florida condo building lands on it, no bank in America will hand a buyer a mortgage to buy your unit. Right now, roughly 1,400 Florida buildings are already on that list, and it grows every single month. Across the state, condo prices are quietly sliding, some markets down close to a third from their peak, while the local news keeps smiling and calling it a healthy correction. This is the story of how the Florida condo dream turned into the most expensive game of musical chairs in America. 13 cities, one countdown, and it ends somewhere you would never guess. We're talking retirees unretiring, going back to work in their 70s, because their building mailed them a bill for $100,000. We're talking a downtown tower that quietly discovered $45 million in repairs it forgot to save for. We're talking beautiful beachfront condos, slashed nearly 50%, sold for cash to buyers who circle like vultures at a yard sale. And we're talking one Gulf Coast city where the typical condo owner lost $60,000 in equity in a single year, and half of them didn't even notice until they tried to sell. So do the responsible thing. Hit that subscribe button now, because if you own a Florida condo, this video is either going to save you or ruin your entire week, and honestly, both feel likely. Like the video too, the algorithm is watching, and so apparently is Fannie Mae. Let's count them down. But before we start, you need to understand the machine doing all this damage because it's the same machine in every city on this list, and it has 4 moving parts. Part 1, the ghost of Surfside. Back in 2021, the Champlain Towers South condo collapsed in the middle of the night near Miami and killed 98 people. Florida responded with a law called Senate Bill 4D, which forces every older condo building to get inspected and to actually fund its repair reserves. No more kicking the rusty can down the road. Part 2, the assessments. When those inspections cracked open decades of deferred maintenance, the bills came due, and owners started getting hit with special assessments ranging from $10,000 to well over $100,000, sometimes far more. Part 3, insurance. Florida's insurance market melted down, and the average condo association's master insurance policy more than doubled, jumping over 100% in just 2 years. Part 4, the blacklist. Fannie Mae, which backs most of the mortgages in America, keeps a confidential list of condo buildings it refuses to lend on, and Florida has around 1,400 buildings on it, more than any other state in the country. Put those 4 together and you get a building that costs a fortune to own, can't get anyone financing, and is worth less every month. Now multiply that by roughly 1 million aging Florida condos, and you understand this entire video. Okay, number 13. Number 13. Miami. Yeah, the big one, the skyline everybody slaps on a postcard, and it's only number 13, which should tell you exactly how ugly this list gets. Miami condo prices have slipped around 8% from their 2023 peak, and in November of last year, Miami-Dade condo prices fell almost 10% year over year, the 5th straight month of annual declines. The reason Miami isn't higher is simple. The land is still gold. But the buildings sitting on that land? Some of them are cursed. Existing condo supply in Miami hit more than 13 months by the end of 2025, which in real estate language means the buyers have quietly left the building. The city is ground zero for the mortgage blacklist and the aging tower problem. Nearly 400,000 condo units in the Miami metro were built before 1990, and those are exactly the towers now getting hammered with repair bills. Take the Cricket Club up in North Miami, a 1970s high-rise where owners were handed special assessments as high as $134,000 each. Over in Aventura, one luxury building assessed some owners up to $400,000. That's not a typo, by the way. $400,000 on top of the mortgage you already have, for the crime of owning a unit in a building that forgot to fix its own bones. A 38-story Brickell tower quietly charged its residents around $45,000 a unit. And here's the twist. Miami single-family homes are still going up in value. So this isn't a Miami problem. It's a condo problem wearing a Miami costume. And it's the monthly bleed, too. The median condo fee in Miami-Dade jumped around 60% in just a few years, from roughly $567 a month to around $900, before the giant one-time assessments even show up. Hold on to that because it explains the entire list. Number 12. Fort Lauderdale. Just up the coast from Miami, same gorgeous beaches, same quietly terrifying spreadsheet. Broward County condo prices have dropped around 12% from their 2022 peak, and by January of 2026, the Broward condo median had sagged to $250,000, down almost 3% year over year, and that's after more than a year of the number falling month after month after month. But the stat that really tells the story is this one. Listings of older condos, the ones over 30 years old, surged about 70% year over year in Fort Lauderdale. Think about what that actually means. An entire generation of owners in aging buildings all sprinting for the exit at the same time, holding the same price to sell signs, competing with the neighbor 3 floors up who is also quietly panicking. Fort Lauderdale sits inside one of the 2 biggest blacklist counties in the state. So a huge chunk of these buildings can't get a buyer conventional financing, even if that buyer shows up with a great credit score and a hopeful smile. The units become cash only, and cash buyers do not pay retail. They circle the aging beachfront towers along Fort Lauderdale Beach like they're at a going out of business sale because functionally they are. If you're enjoying the countdown so far, go ahead and smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you'd think, and we are only getting warmed up. The moment lenders won't finance a building, the entire pool of possible buyers shrinks to whoever happens to be sitting on a suitcase of cash, and that pool is tiny, because number 11 is where the luxury crowd starts to sweat. Number 11, West Palm Beach. Palm Beach County is where old money goes to feel comfortable, so it's honestly a little funny watching it show up on a collapse list. Redfin flagged West Palm Beach as one of the metros where condos are selling at the steepest discount to their asking price. Units here have been sitting on the market for around 107 days. That's over 3 months of a for sale sign, slowly baking in the Florida sun, before finally selling for roughly 7% below list. The county median has clung to around $300,000, but the guts of the market are rotting underneath. By some counts, about 84% of the resale listings in the county are those vintage 30-plus year buildings with close to 10 months of supply piled up. That is a mountain of aging concrete looking for buyers who mostly don't exist anymore. And here's the detail that everyone missed. The glossy town of Palm Beach itself sometimes posts these insane 50% year-over-year drops in its condo median, but that's a mirage. It's just a couple of ultra-luxury units skewing a tiny sample. The real story isn't the mansions. It's the ordinary retiree condos in ordinary buildings that suddenly cost their owners a fortune to keep and a fortune to sell. West Palm Beach is the sound of the champagne going flat. Number 10, Naples and Marco Island. This is the part where the yacht people start nervously checking their portfolios. Naples sits in one of the wealthiest counties in America, and its condo prices have fallen roughly 18% from the peak they hit in the summer of 2022. Redfin clocked Naples condos down more than 11% in a single year. The median condo drifted from around $479,000 down toward $466,000, with nearly 10 months of supply just sitting on the market under all those perfect palm trees. And it's not just the condos. Naples' single-family homes fell more than 19% in a year too, so the whole town is cooling at once. So what went wrong in paradise? 3 things ganged up at once. First, luxury buyers are the most sensitive to interest rates, and when money gets expensive, the discretionary beach condo is the first thing crossed off the list. Second, Hurricane Ian tore through this coastline and gutted the tourism and job engine that props the whole region up. And third, the same insurance and reserve nightmare hitting every other building on this list does not politely skip you just because your lobby has a chandelier. Naples proves the uncomfortable truth of this entire story. Money does not make a building younger, and it definitely does not make a hurricane politer. If it can happen here in one of the richest markets in the country, then nobody on the Florida coast is safe. And believe me, it gets a lot less polite from here. Number 9. Orlando. And this one should genuinely confuse you because Orlando is inland. No beach, no storm surge crashing through the lobby. Mickey Mouse does not have a flood zone. And yet Orlando condo prices have fallen around 17% from their peak in early 2024, with condo sales cratering more than 30% in a single year. So if the ocean isn't the villain here, what is? 2 things. overbuilding, and the vacation rental hangover. Investors bought up Orlando condos by the truckload, betting on endless short-term rental income. And when that bet cooled off, they all wanted out at the exact same moment. Then the mortgage blacklist showed up to finish the job. There's a complex near Orlando where a sale straight up collapsed because the building was flagged as ineligible for a conventional loan, which means the seller was trapped and the buyer simply walked away. Cities across the region also started cracking down on short-term rentals, which knocked the legs out from under the investors who bought purely for Airbnb income. But Orlando also hides the most important plot twist in this whole video. The newer buildings, the ones that actually meet the modern reserve and insurance standards, are up around 11%. Same city, same market, and one half is drowning while the other half is thriving. That gap, old versus new, is the real dividing line in Florida right now. Remember it, because the closer we get to number 1, the wider that gap becomes. Number 8, Lakeland and Winter Haven. This is the quiet one, the market nobody outside Florida ever talks about, tucked into the middle of the state between Tampa and Orlando. And it is bleeding almost as badly as the famous coastal cities. Lakeland area condo prices have dropped about 17% from their peak in the summer of 2022, quietly rolling all the way back toward prices last seen years ago, like the market climbed a tall ladder and then decided to take the elevator straight down. Lakeland doesn't have Miami's skyline or Naples' chandeliers. What it has is a stock of affordable condos that attracted first-time buyers and retirees on fixed incomes. And those are exactly the people who get destroyed when the monthly fees jump and the surprise repair bill lands in the mailbox. When you're on a tight budget, a $200 increase in your homeowners association fee isn't an annoyance. It's the difference between staying and selling. Lakeland is the reminder that this crisis isn't just punishing the rich for buying beachfront trophies. It's quietly gutting the affordable middle of the Florida market too, the exact segment that was supposed to be the safe bet. And if the affordable middle isn't safe, we have a real problem. Speaking of real problems, the next 5 cities are where this countdown stops being sad and starts being genuinely brutal. Number 7, Punta Gorda. Now we are officially in the danger zone. This little Gulf Coast city posted one of the single largest inventory explosions in the entire country. All property prices in the metro fell more than 25% from their 2022 peak. And over a recent 12-month stretch, the Punta Gorda area logged the steepest annual price drop of any metro in America. Not in Florida, in America. Condo list prices here have slumped to around $255,000, and they keep sliding. Charlotte County recorded one of the biggest listing surges in the whole nation, a wall of inventory with barely anyone left to buy it. What happened? Hurricane Ian happened, and then Hurricane Milton came back for an encore. This stretch of coast got hammered by back-to-back storms, and every single time a hurricane rips through, 3 things follow like clockwork. Insurance premiums spike, repair assessments explode, and terrified owners flood the market with listings all at once. Punta Gorda also overbuilt like crazy during the boom, so now you've got a tidal wave of condos and a puddle of buyers. That's not a market. That's a fire sale with a very nice water view. And here's the part that should worry anyone dreaming about buying the dip. The storms are not a one-time event. They are the new normal on this coast, which means the discount you're staring at today might not be a bargain at all. It might just be a preview. Number 6, Port St. Lucie. Over on the Treasure Coast, this market got hit with a very specific kind of pain, the buyer strike. Condo prices in Port St. Lucie have dropped around 16% from their peak in the summer of 2022. But the number that really stings is the sales collapse. Condo sales here fell more than 31% in a single year, one of the worst sales drop-offs anywhere in the country. And a sales collapse is actually scarier than a price collapse because it means the standoff has begun. Sellers still think it's 2022 and price their units like the party never ended. Buyers know it's 2026 and flatly refuse to overpay for a unit that comes with a mystery repair bill stapled to it. So nothing sells. The listings just sit there, gathering dust and price cuts, month after month, while the two sides stare each other down. Eventually, somebody blinks, and it's almost always the seller, because the seller is the one still writing a check for the insurance, the taxes, and the ballooning association fees every single month the place refuses to sell. The units that do trade are increasingly the newer ones with clean paperwork, while the aging buildings just rot on the market with nobody willing to touch a place that might come with a five-figure surprise attached. Port St. Lucie is a slow-motion surrender. If you own here, hit like on this video out of pure solidarity, and then maybe call your realtor. Because we are about to hit the top 5, and this is where the big names start falling hard. Number 5. Jacksonville. The biggest city in Florida by land area, way up in the northeast corner, and its condo market has quietly fallen around 21% from its peak in late 2022. New listings jumped more than 30% in a year while sales dropped around 27%, which is the exact recipe for a glut. Too many people selling, nowhere near enough people buying. One local Jacksonville agent summed up the entire mood in a single sentence, saying that bidding wars are very rare these days. Sit with how far that is from the pandemic, when people were waiving inspections and offering 50 grand over asking on a condo they'd seen for 11 minutes on a shaky video call. That entire world is gone. Jacksonville is interesting precisely because it's not a hurricane story or a luxury story. It's just an ordinary city that overheated during the boom and is now cooling off hard. And the same statewide gravity, the insurance costs, the reserve laws, the fear of buying into an aging building is dragging it down right alongside the flashier coastal names. When a market this stable is down a full fifth from its peak, it tells you this isn't a few bad buildings having one bad year. This is an entire state recalibrating. Jacksonville is the canary that isn't even near the coal mine, and it's still coughing. And the final 4 cities are the ones recalibrating the hardest. All right, let's pause the countdown for 1 second, because we've hit the halfway point, and this is where the story gets personal. If you're finding this useful, take 2 seconds to subscribe. We break down American real estate exactly like this every single week, and there's a whole lot more coming. Now, here's the human side of these numbers. Florida has roughly 1.1 million condo units that are more than 30 years old. That is not a niche problem. That's a giant slice of the entire state, and almost every one of those buildings is now facing the inspections and the reserve funding that trigger the big scary bills. In South Florida, when the listings started flooding the market, around 90% of them were these older units. An entire era of Florida real estate hitting the market all at once. And the people caught inside it are often retirees who bought a quiet little condo to live out their golden years on a fixed income. Instead, they opened the mailbox and found an assessment bigger than their annual Social Security check. Some of them are literally going back to work in their 70s, unretiring, to pay for a building they already own outright. Then there's the exodus. For years, everyone and their mother was moving to Florida. In 2022, the state gained over 300,000 new residents from other states. By last year, that number had collapsed to around 22,000. The Great Florida Stampede didn't just slow down, it nearly stopped dead. The state's insurer of last resort, a company called Citizens, ballooned to over 1 million policies because private insurers were fleeing so fast. When you kill the demand and flood the supply at the very same time, prices only travel in one direction. Now, about that 40% in the title, let's be precise, because you deserve the real number. Citywide, the worst metros are down about a third, roughly 33%. But inside specific aging buildings, the damage is far uglier. In parts of Miami Beach, vintage condos have listed more than 50% below the overall market average, and in Sunny Isles, some vintage units listed almost 80% below. Individual owners in troubled towers have slashed their prices 40, 50, even 60% just to escape with their sanity. So when you hear some down 40%, that is not clickbait. That's a specific old building with a specific horrifying repair bill, and there are thousands of them scattered across the state. The citywide averages are just the tip. The vintage buildings are the iceberg underneath the water, and thousands of Florida owners are only now feeling their hulls scrape against it. Okay, back to the countdown, and the top 6 are the worst of the worst. Number 4, Tampa. And this one genuinely hurts because Tampa was the golden child. For years, it was the market everyone pointed to. Booming, young, growing, the shining future of Florida. And now Tampa condo prices have fallen around 21% from their peak in the fall of 2022, with the city ranking among the 10 worst condo markets in the entire country for one-year price drops. So what went wrong? Tampa built, and built, and then built some more. Developers threw up condo towers all across the metro, betting the boom would never end. And then the boom did exactly what booms always do. It ended. Now the region is swimming in unsold inventory, and every one of those shiny units carries the same anchors, dragging the whole state down. Sky-high insurance, reserve requirements forcing associations to jack up their fees, and a wall of buyers who've quietly decided they'd rather rent than gamble on a depreciating box in the sky. Tampa is the cautionary tale for every hot market in America. The higher you fly on cheap money and endless optimism, the harder the concrete floor hits when the music finally stops. Even the big national price indexes now show Tampa values falling outright, one of the few major American metros where that's happening at all. And the music in Tampa has very much stopped. But if you think a 21% drop is dramatic, just wait until you see what the last three cities have done. Number 3 actually broke a record. Number 3, Sarasota and Bradenton. Beautiful beaches, world-class sunsets, and a condo market in genuine free fall. Sarasota County condo prices dropped more than 15% in a single year, landing the median right around $325,000, but the average price fell almost 27%, which tells you the expensive units are getting absolutely obliterated. Condos here now take around 112 days to sell, sitting on the market for nearly 4 months, with roughly 8 months of supply stacked up behind them. From its peak in the summer of 2022, the Sarasota condo market is down around 24%. And now for the genuinely scary part. Real estate forecasters are projecting that the Sarasota-Bradenton metro will fall another 9% in 2026, one of the steepest predicted declines of any market in the entire country. So this isn't a market that already hit bottom and is quietly licking its wounds. This is a market that the experts are betting still has a long way left to fall. Sarasota got the full cocktail, the overbuilding, the hurricane exposure, and the aging waterfront towers facing brutal assessments, all of it poured into one glass at the same time. If you're watching this and seriously thinking about catching the falling knife in Sarasota, at least subscribe first so you can send us a grateful thank you note if it somehow works out, and quietly delete your search history if it doesn't. Now the top 2. Number 2. St. Petersburg, just across the bay from Tampa, and it holds a title that absolutely nobody wants. St. Pete condo prices have crashed around 29% from their peak in the fall of 2022, the single steepest decline of any city in the whole state of Florida. Let me tell you about one specific building, because it explains this entire crisis in one story. There is a condo tower in downtown St. Petersburg, built way back in 1975. And when the inspectors finally opened it up under the new safety laws, they discovered around $45 million in needed repairs. $45 million split among the owners in a building that had been quietly collecting fees for decades and apparently saving almost nothing. One unit inside that building got its price slashed by nearly 50%. That right there is the 40% plus you clicked on this video to see, and it is completely real. It's just hiding inside specific old towers instead of the citywide average. Now stack on top of that the storms that battered the Pinellas County coast, the punishing flood insurance, and the aging beachfront high-rises, and you get a market where owning a vintage condo went from a dream to a liability almost overnight. And it's not just that one tower. Individual St. Pete condo communities are showing declines of around 30% at the building level, one after another. St. Petersburg is the poster child for the exact moment Florida's 40-year-old towers stopped being charming and started being time bombs with ocean views. And yet somehow, incredibly, it is still not the worst city on this list. There is one left. Number 1, Cape Coral and Fort Myers, the epicenter. The absolute ground zero of the entire Florida condo collapse. Condo prices in the Cape Coral Fort Myers metro have fallen around 33% from their peak in the summer of 2022. 33%. That rolls values all the way back to roughly 2005, erasing 2 full decades of appreciation like it simply never happened. The chief economist at Redfin put it in a way that really sticks. $60,000, she said, is how much home equity the typical Cape Coral condo owner lost in just the last year alone. 60 grand, gone, while you were sleeping. And it gets worse. Analysts ranked the Cape Coral Fort Myers area as the single biggest overall home price decline in the entire United States, with the median sliding around 9% to about $341,000. So, how exactly did Paradise become the worst market in America? It's the perfect storm. All four disasters showing up at one address. Prices here shot up more than 60% during the pandemic mania. So there was a mountain of hot air built up underneath them. Then Hurricane Ian made a direct hit and devastated the region. Then insurance premiums went absolutely nuclear. And then the investors who'd piled in chasing easy money sprinted for the exits all at the same time. Overbuilt, overleveraged, overexposed, and then punched square in the face by a hurricane. Cape Coral is what happens when every single risk factor in this entire video shows up to the same address on the same day. One quarter alone, the whole area logged the largest home price drop in America, and the condos led the fall the entire way down. It is the #1 Florida city where condo prices are collapsing, and honestly, it isn't even particularly close. So there it is. 13 Florida cities where the condo dream is quietly deflating, all the way from Miami down to ground zero in Cape Coral. But zoom out for 1 second, because this is bigger than just Florida. What you're really watching is what happens when an entire class of housing gets built on the assumption that maintenance is optional, insurance stays cheap forever, and buyers never run out. All three of those comfortable assumptions just died at the same time, and Florida is simply the first place to get handed the bill. Other states with aging condos and rising insurance are watching this very, very nervously because the exact same math is quietly coming for them next. Here's the strange silver lining, though. For a certain kind of buyer, the patient, cash-heavy, do-your-actual homework kind, this is the first real opening in Florida condos in years. If a newer building with fully funded reserves and sane insurance drops 30%, that's not a collapse to you. That's a sale. The whole trick is telling the difference between a discount and a trap, between a solid building priced to move and an aging tower about to mail its owners a bill that ends in 5 zeros. Buy the right building at a 30% discount and you're a genius. Buy the wrong one and you just inherited someone else's $45 million repair bill. That single difference is the entire game now. If this video saved you from buying a beautiful money pit or talked you into the deal of a lifetime, either way you now owe us a like and a subscribe. That's the toll. We don't make the rules. Drop the Florida city you want us to break down next right in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Do your homework, read the reserve study before you fall in love with the balcony view, and try not to buy anything with a chandelier and a 1975 construction date until then. Stay smart, keep your eyes open, and remember that in real estate, the best-looking deal in the room is usually the one hiding the biggest secret.